How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Stand Focused for Jesus. Hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day in the Lord Jesus Christ as always. Esau. Oh, we about to expose some people. We need to do a book instead of Where's Waldo. We need to do one that says Where's Esau, because it seems obvious that Esau can't be found. You know, it's so hard to figure out who Esau is. Esau is the white man and all this other stuff. And I've done a few sermons on this topic, but I was led by the Spirit to do another one. We're going to have some scientific stuff. We're going to obviously have some biblical stuff, some geographical stuff, some DNA, some genetic stuff, proving that Esau is not the modern day white man, as people say, that goes against the scriptures. So I got the AC going because it is kind of warm here today. It's 79 degrees. Definitely a change from how it has been raining. Like, good Lord, it's raining. Then it's rain, and then, it'd be cool. You know how that weather is. That hot, cold, they had you messed up. Got a truck behind me, obviously, because I'm at my local gas station right down the street, so I can park in the shade, so I can get away from the house, get away from the children, and do this. So if you hear some noises, hey, bear with me. But let's go ahead and get into this, because we have quite a few things to cover. We have some interesting things that I looked up. I didn't even know, about twins and stuff like that. So, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. The Syrians. What do the modern day Syrians look like today? But they call what we call Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and we have discussed that. Olive color, we have discussed what olive color really is. They try to lie to you because they know that most people aren't actually going to look it up and see what do they mean by olive color. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So she was thinking like, dang, if I'm really pregnant, then what's going on in my stomach? Am I going to have a miscarriage? All these thoughts are going through her mind. And she went to inquire of the Lord, which is what we're supposed to do. So when it comes to finding out who Esau is, finding out if somebody's legit or not legit, finding out who we are individually as believers, if we are truly believers, then what we need to go do, we need to go inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. So if it said there were twins in her womb, then we have to find out if these twins, one was black and one was white. We need to find it out according to the scriptures. Is it most likely that one twin was black and the other twin was white? I should say the other way around. One twin was white because Esau came out first, right? And the other twin was black. But they still were twins. Yeah. So most likely, even if one was quote unquote white, he still would have looked black. He would have Negroid features, strong Negroid features, considering that, the time period that we are addressing. And if Esau is the white man, that would mean that he is our brother. Well, he's our brother either way. But I say that because people say, to hell with the white man's a devil. So what are you saying about your own people? So you're saying that Esau is the devil, but Esau came from our lineage, but our own people can't be devils? So you still dead in the water because you're being hypocritical. You're not addressing both sides. You're addressing what you want to address. You address Esau, as you say, some of you say, as the white man, the white devil, but you won't address your own people who are wicked. They get a free pass though. And furthermore, if Esau is the white man, then you're saying that the original birthright went to the white man, which is simply not true. The first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Now we're going to break this stuff down so you can get an understanding of it. We've done it before, but we want to go deeper into the wisdom of God. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. Jacob meaning the supplanter, which is why the name went from Jacob to Israel. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Esau was in the streets. Esau was in the streets. And then you had Jacob, he was a plain man. He was a homebody. Yeah. So that tells us, because I tell you that Esau is black. Esau is predominantly black. He was blacker back then, I should say. So that would tell us that many Israelites, they aren't quote-unquote Israelites as we define today, because Esau would have technically been an Israelite because he comes from that lineage. He could have considered himself an Israelite. But many Israelites are actually specifically they're specifically Edomites, which is why they're always in the streets. And many Israelites, they have taken on the ways of Black Edom, the Black Edomites, the original Edomites, Esau, and they're living like Esau, and they're in the streets doing all this crazy stuff. Interesting. One was in the streets. You could pretty much say he was a man of the field. He didn't want to be at the house like that. And you had, he was a hunter. And Jacob, he was a plain man dwelling in tents. He was at the crib. He was a homebody. That's how we apply that to today. So, these are some of the factors that increase the odds of having twins. Because they were twins, right? Some women are more likely than others to give birth to twins. The factors that increase the odds include advancing age of the mother. Women in their 30s and 40s have higher levels of the sexual hormone, estrogen. I don't know if it's pronounced estrogen, but I don't think it is because there's an O in the front of it. Estrogen than younger women, which means that their ovaries are stimulated to produce more than one egg at a time. Why? Because, hey, 30 or 40, you get up in that age, as we say, that clock is running out. So then the body stimulates the production of more eggs at one time because the eggs eventually run out. That's why. So we're going to have a whole bunch of scientific stuff too. Another factor that increases the odds of having twins is the number of previous pregnancies. The greater the number of pregnancies a woman has already had, the higher her odds of conceiving twins. Now, we obviously know that's not the case with Rebecca, but I'm just giving you some facts that you can apply to today. Apply how you want to. Hereditary. A woman is more likely to conceive fraternal twins if she is a fraternal twin. If she is a fraternal twin, has already had fraternal twins, or has siblings who are fraternal twins. Why? Because it's in the DNA. Patterns, people, patterns. I told y'all, look at the patterns, right? Race. Now, this is what I didn't know. Some of this other stuff I didn't know, but I really did not know this, which is going to kind of like prove the point. You're talking about Esau as a white man, but not only this point, but other points. Black African women have the highest incidence of twins, while Asian women have the lowest. Black African women have the highest incident of twins. And we just read about fraternal twins and twins in general. It's more likely that a lineage is going to conceive twins based on hereditary, based on genetics. And it's telling us here facts that black African women, what do you think that Rebecca and them was? They was African women. Black African women have the highest incident of twins. So if black African women have the highest incident of twins today, then what about back then? Do we not think that black African women, which, you know, I'm play on words because you know what black African women, we know. We know. So we don't think that back then they had a higher rate of twins back then? Oh, that's only now. Come on now. Fertilization. Hormones secreted by the ovaries and a small gland in the brain called the pituitary control the menstrual cycle. I found that interesting because you can do research with the pituitary and the pineal gland. You can do research with the pituitary and the pineal gland. And mostly when you study the pineal gland, you understand what they're really trying to do. And so I can't go into too much detail on that, but some of you know what I'm talking about. To be able to make that connection. So let's see some examples of twin in the Bible. And the scripture we're going to go to is Solomon, Song of Solomon. Y'all know what the Song of Solomon is about, so this is grown folks talk. And Solomon is admiring his bride's beauty. He says, "Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes within thy locks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead. Thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn, which came up from the washing, whereof every one bare twins." Okay? And none is barren among them. So he makes a comparison of sheep, and all these sheep that are shorn, that came up from the washing, and they are bearing twins. So if you shave sheep, it's kind of hard to tell them apart because they look like sheep. Now, there may be differences. One may have a big ears or smaller ears, but overall, the sheep look the same. Like I said, you have differences in those sheep, but overall, sheep look the same. Just like, oh, all black people look the same. People say all white people look the same. It's true on both sides. Most of us do look the same in a particular group, but we have our own differences. Somebody may look like me and they may have smaller ears, or their ears may be bigger, right? They may look like me and they may not be as hairy as me. That brother right there, he get an Esau in him. You're absolutely right, dude. I'm gonna get to that. Y'all see, I'm hairy. I don't apologize for being hairy. It actually proves the point of even more of what lineage I come from. So thank you. I'm not ashamed to come from the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob physically. Who did Isaac birth? Who did his seed lead to? Let's see, Esau and Jacob. I know I got both of them in me. I know that for a fact. But that's in my own personal journey with things the Lord has revealed to me. I'm hairy. But did you know there are people in the scriptures that were mentioned specifically as being hairy? So let's continue on. Thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, and thy speech is comely. Thy temples are like a piece of a pomegranate within thy locks. Thy neck is like the tower of David builded for an armory, whereon there hang 1,000 bucklers, all shields of mighty men. Verse number 5. Thy two breasts are like two young roes that are twins, which feed among the lilies. So he said that her breasts are like two young roes that are twins, meaning that her breasts were pretty much asymmetrically perfect. Now, I'm not being vulgar, but I've seen quite a few breasts in my day. And women, you have breasts. And you know if one breast is smaller than the other. You know if one breast is bigger than the other breast. You know about your breast. You know if your nipples and all the other stuff. And I forgot a little areola, I think it's called, or whatever, blase, right? You know about all that in regards to your breast. But when you look at your breast as a whole, don't your breasts look the same? Does one breast have a nipple and the other breast doesn't? Is one your nipples green and the other one purple or yellow? So he compares the two breasts like twins, because the breasts, they're supposed to match up pretty good. You know, go look up asymmetry in beauty. When they judge a person by their looks, mostly this is dealing with science. It's based off of asymmetry, how one side of the face matches the other side of the face. That's why you see a person with Bell's palsy, they look all crazy. So again, he's talking about the breasts, and he's comparing the breasts as twins. So wouldn't it make sense that when it's talking about the twins, Esau and Jacob, they looked alike? Like the two young roes that are twins with feet among lizards, they look alike until they start to grow up, and then you start to see the distinction between the two? Or like two breasts, two young supple breasts of his young wife? The breasts are perky and perfect, they matching, and then you know what happens? You get old, stuff ain't tight as it used to be. So that's how we can, from the scriptures, we know that, one was white and the other one was black. If that was the case, then the Bible would have gave some more detail or some more evidence to support that. Both of them Negroes were black. Both of them were ruddy. One was more hairier, because babies come out with hair. His hair was more prominent, and he came out grown. He was full of testosterone. I'm gonna show you that. He came out like a grown man, as we say. You ever seen a baby come out like a grown man? Like, boy, that baby, good Lord, that baby look grown. That's how Esau came out, because typically the hair comes with puberty. I'm gonna get to that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So we look at the word Esau. The word Esau has been generally considered to imply made, formed, or perfected, or perfect, robust. That Negro came out robust like a man. But it appears to be a dialectical variation of the Arabic atha, which is to be covered with hair. But it's giving you some deeper things. I mean, he ready. This one right here, he ready. So when we look at the word hair, remember you got to get the wisdom, because if you don't understand these words and the wisdom that each word contains, then everything else isn't going to make sense. You look at the word hair. It means what? To stand out. We just saw that the word Esau meant what? Robust. If you ever had a robust pizza, these flavors are robust. It stands out. So now you see the correlation with Esau, his name, and the hair. Hair, to stand out, to bristle, rise to a point. Now we want to get scientific about hair, because it's going to help you understand even better. Each strand of hair is made up of the medulla, cortex, and cuticle. The innermost region, the medulla, is not always present and is an open, unstructured region. The highly structural and organized cortex, or second of three layers of the hair, is a primary source of mechanical strength and water uptake. The cortex contains melanin, which colors the fiber based on the number. Let's see that one more time. The cortex, because you got three parts, right? You got the medulla, you got the cortex, and you got the cuticle. The cortex is the primary source of mechanical strength. Makes sense because you get the melanin, right? And water uptake. The cortex contains melanin, which colors the fiber of your hairs, based on the number. Distribution and types of melanin granules. So all these factor into the color, how dark a person's hair is going to be, right? So they're grouped together and everything, and how they're distributed, and types of melanin granules, it's going to be darker, right? So we go and we continue reading, and it says, all natural hair colors are the result of two types of hair pigments. All natural. So y'all get, what happens is you mix the artificial with the natural, and then you get confused, because they purposely done that. When somebody says something, then you define it as what you've been indoctrinated to think. If I say blonde, what's the first thing that probably comes to your mind? A woman with the yellow blonde hair, because you've been conditioned to think that. But then I did a sermon a few sermons ago where I actually broke down blonde and showed you that blonde doesn't mean what you've been taught it means. You see what I'm saying? Then they make the movies like Legally Blonde and all this other stuff, purposely reinforcing that image. So when the truth comes in, you're like, you don't believe it. Just like they reinforce the image of white Jesus. And then they say, oh, it doesn't matter. A person's first response when you talk about that Jesus isn't white and that he's black is, it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter when we say that Jesus is black, but you didn't say nothing before that when you had all these images of white Jesus being plastered everywhere? And I did a sermon on that, showing you the birth of the American white Jesus. Yet the scriptures say that you're not supposed to be using those images, but y'all didn't have it in your church. You go to the church building with the white Jesus. You got white Jesus at your house. You got white Jesus in your car. You got white Jesus on your keychain. You got white Jesus in your car right there in the corner, on your dash or whatever. You see in the white Jesus car all these different things. White Jesus everywhere, but you don't say nothing. You ain't said nothing. But now because somebody said black Jesus, oh, it doesn't matter. What matters is salvation. So why you weren't saying nothing before? It's showing your hypocrisy. I don't have no images of white Jesus or black Jesus around. I do know that Jesus is black. You can't separate Jesus being black from who he is and say it doesn't matter. It's like saying, oh, it doesn't matter if I'm black. It does matter. If you have two Kelson Kings, and you go on YouTube, not YouTube, but you go on Facebook and type in Kelson King, there are going to be many Kelson Kings come up. Matter of fact, there's going to be Kelson Kings come up that are not black. So you're going to say that it doesn't matter if the Kelson King you're looking for is black or white? You can't separate my skin, my melanin, from who I am as Kelson King. I got a brother in Jamaica that's a doctor that's named Kelson King. I know he's my physical family because he got the same name. He's in Jamaica. He's from Jamaica. And I know my connection with the Jamaican people and stuff like that. Yeah, and then the modern day white Jesus of the day goes directly against scriptures because Jesus was not a good looking person when he came to this earth. Jesus was busted. The Bible specifically says that in its own way, in his own term of the day. There was nothing in him physically that we would desire him. The brother did not look good when he came. There was nothing in him that, hey, we want to make him king, or nothing that the women were like, yeah. He was busted. What we modern day busted. I don't want y'all female. I don't want to talk to him. Nah, Even today, females will talk to dudes that got some type of, we say, swag. And Jesus had ancient day swag. The swag came from Jesus. You got to have swag if you is busted, and then they still try to make you king. You see what I'm saying? So, the women of the day, they wouldn't even receive Jesus. Like, nah, I'm straight. Because they would have said that Jesus ain't got no swag. But like, he busted and he ain't got no swag? Oh, no, I can't roll with that. So continuing on, all natural hair colors are the result of two types of hair pigments. Both of these pigments are melanin types produced inside the hair follicle and packed into granules found in the fibers. Melanin, dealing with hair, right? Eumelanin is the dominant pigment in brown hair and black hair. Now you gotta be careful how they do these words, right? Because it said, oh, brown hair and black hair. Then you go read the other one and they say red. You're like, see, that's not talking about brown hair. But we already discussed that, right? Our foundation is the scriptures. While pheomelanin is dominant in red hair. But we know that red is brown, or brownish. And actually, brown comes from red, right? Blonde hair is the result of having little pigmentation in the hair strand. DHT is derived from testosterone. It is made by an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase and DHEA, which is more common in women. I want to read that one more time. DHT is derived from testosterone. Remember we did those sermons on testosterone and everything? It is made by an enzyme called 5-alpha, which is interesting. 5, alpha reductase. And DHEA, which is more common in women. This hormone is found in the skin, hair, and prostate. So you talk about prostate cancer amongst primarily African American men, what we call African American men, and we have studied the connection with prostate and the reduction of prostate cancer, the rise of prostate cancer, and the reduction of testosterone in older men. We have studied all that. We have discussed all that, which is why we cover this stuff from a scientific standpoint, showing you that any perspective we speak about it from, we can prove our points. So it continues on and says, again, this hormone is found in the in the skin, hair, and prostate. It binds itself to follicles that cause them to become smaller in size, resulting in the thinning of your hair and eventually losing these strands. So my testosterone is low because when my hair is thinning because I have low testosterone. That could be the cause, but it's not always the cause. Testosterone and DHT mainly contribute to the development of secondary, watch this, sexual characteristics in men. I want to read it again. Testosterone and DHT mainly contribute to the development of secondary sexual characteristics in men. So, what do you think is one of these secondary sexual characteristics in men? Which is why I told y'all when Esau came out, he came out grown. Hairy. They looked at him like he was grown, looked at him like he was a man. Oh, he's different in comparison to his brother. His face was probably a little bit more chiseled. Cause a baby come out, in their face, how they look when they come out and how they look when they grow up. You know what I'm saying? They be all blobby and everything, then, in their bones or whatnot, start to form and stuff like that, and then, because of the testosterone. So, again, I ask you, what do you think one of these secondary sexual characteristics in men is that comes from the testosterone and DHT, which contributes to these secondary sexual characteristics? Hair is a secondary sexual characteristic. Let's read it real quick. These include a change in voice, increased hair on the body. Oh, it's all starting to make sense. So the Bible's not supporting that Esau came out white. Sperm production, growth of the testes. I wouldn't be surprised when Esau came out, he was, he probably had a nice size on him. Like, dang, that's a baby. Like, good Lord. I wouldn't be surprised because he came out hairy, right? And that was specifically something that was addressed. So because we know that that's a secondary sexual characteristic, then we can kind of like conclude that, hey, he probably came out well sized for a baby. Like, good Lord. Like, usually babies, we grow into that as we become older and everything. So, again, hair is a secondary sexual characteristic. So when you think about that, in America, what have they done historically? Be clean shaven. Shave your face. Shave your face. Get all that hair off you. When science is saying differently. So I told y'all this before, and I did a sermon on it, that when they had the whole shaving of the beard and everything, when we talk about America and other places, it's more so a ritual. It's a ritual. Now we know why they did it in the scriptures because we have discussed that before. But when we talk about America and America promoting shave your face, you need to be clean shaven, all these other things, it's because it's a ritual. And I've covered that and I've proven it to you historically. So why do they want people to shave their faces? Because they wanted people to be more like them. They wanted to be more like them, and it was a way for them to control the sexual characteristics of men, and by doing so, they were able to indirectly on that front be able to control the population in a way. So let's continue reading. I'm gonna give you some more information to back up what I'm saying right now. Let me turn this car back on. I don't want to keep it running because I run out of gas. Both low and high levels of testosterone can result in hair loss. So just because you got high levels doesn't mean that you won't go bald. Just because you got low levels doesn't mean that you won't go bald, and vice versa. So I want to make sure I address that. We need to understand that those with low testosterone levels may in fact have the same amount of DHT that contributes to hair loss. It has been shown that men with male pattern baldness have low testosterone levels with average DHT levels in their body. Some people have the same amount of DHT as others, but their hair follicles are genetically programmed to be more sensitive to DHT. This makes their follicles more susceptible to reducing in size. So we're going to be addressing these secondary sexual characteristics a little bit more. Secondary sex characteristics are features that appear during puberty in humans. One of them being what? Increased hair on the body. Esau was specifically known as hairy. So he was like a man, not a baby. Obviously he was a baby, but he came out like a man. As I say, he came out like ready for the world. Secondary sexual characteristics are those sexually dimorphic characteristics that are not directly involved in reproduction. For males, secondary characteristics include facial and chest hair, increased body hair. So hair is a secondary, is pretty much a sexual characteristic, but it's not involved in reproduction. But it's still, on a scientific level. But they've told the people the opposite. I wonder is there a conspiracy going on? Increased body hair, and they know this stuff. Pelvic build, which is a lack of rounded hips. Pretty much, he ain't built like a woman. We've seen men that got hips. You're like, upper body muscular build, and the ability to generate muscle mass at a faster rate than the female. For females, secondary sexual characteristics include relative lack of body hair, because a man don't want no hairy woman. Well, most men don't. So you see the balance. But what do they tell the men? Shave everything off. Shave it off. Shave your face, and to get all that hair off your body. If you walk around like me or whatnot, they have to look at you like a monster. Man, you hairy, like, good Lord. Not realizing that this is a sexual characteristic, because it oozes testosterone. Because on the subconscious level, women are attracted to that. Now they've been manipulated, but women are attracted to that on the subconscious level because of the chemicals that a man like me gives off. Come on, y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Cause they like, why? Because his seed is strong. His seed, he got high testosterone level. He got strong seed to impregnate me for survival and all these different things. Again, for females, secondary sex characteristics include relative lack of body hair, thicker hair on the head in some cases, rounded hips or figure, which is why we are attracted to that, because it's a sexual characteristic. Why are men attracted to the hips, the booty, and all the other stuff in the breast? Because it's a sexual characteristic. But what do? Also, they tried to promote the flat body, all this and that. Like that's what people want, and people bought into that. But that goes against the natural order, because a woman is supposed to have those hips and thighs and everything, because it's a form of protection. It's also for childbearing. How scientific you want to go? Then it goes on and says a decreased ability to generate muscle mass at a fast rate. Women are not supposed to get as big as men. It's unnatural, and it's not attractive. It's not supposed to attract you. But because everything has been twisted and distorted, what has happened? Oh, she fit. She got muscle. She got more muscle than the thing I do. She walking around with traps up here like she a WWE wrestler, and you think that's attractive because you've been your psyche has been perverted. Then you look at a person like me and all this hair, and you look at it like it's nasty. Not realizing that's strength. That's that testosterone. That's manhood. That's manhood. And that's according to science. See, they don't want you to know all this, because this is power right here. This is powerful. All the nasty beard and this and that. This needs to shave that or whatever. So it goes on and says, decreased upper body strength, breasts are a secondary sexual characteristic, but we know what they become today. The ability to nurse children, a menstrual cycle, and increased body fat composition. So menstrual cycle is a secondary sexual characteristic. Because okay, she has a menstrual cycle, which means that her body it cleanses itself, right? You know what menstrual cycle smells like? I'm not being nasty. You can smell the iron in it. Some people have sensitive noses like that you can actually smell the iron in a woman's menstrual cycle or when her period is coming on. I'm just being real. Because there's something going on, what we say, on the subconscious level. A man is naturally attracted to a woman that has a menstrual cycle. Because if she had no normal menstrual cycle, then that cootie cat nasty. Then on the subconscious level, on the spiritual level, you're gonna be drawn away from that, because the cootie cat ain't gonna smell right. Some of y'all laughing at me. You can laugh, but hey, it's real. It's true. This is real science right here. I just put it in a way. I just put it in a way like I'm talking in the streets, so you can understand it. The Bible says to make it plain, speak it plain. If I speak it all scientific, then you don't understand it. But you understood that though, didn't you? Oh yeah, some of you women are even like, yeah, I just met a few people. I like, good Lord. Why do you think? Ask yourself then. Why do you think that when a woman cootie cat stain, why does it smell like fish? Like rotten fish, bad fish. Water. Just like when you take a fish out of the water, it sits there and it stinks. Come on now. I told y'all we do this. We do this. So menstrual cycles actually, it attracts you. Let you know that, oh, she clean. She keep that thing clean. Now, obviously there are other factors that go into that, because just because she has the menstrual cycle, if she letting, you know what I'm saying, every time dick and hair run through it, then that thing ain't gonna be clean like that. You see what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be naturally clean. So then she has to go and do stuff to try to get that pH level and all the other stuff back in balance and try to tighten it back up, you know. Come on now, just because I'm a man doesn't mean I don't know this stuff. I know this stuff. I know women. That gave me an advantage. Let me tell y'all a story real quick before I go on. I told the story before, but let me tell you again. I always strived, and I was wrong because I was, it was unrighteous, but I always strived to be the best sexual partner or whatever that I could be for a woman. I always aimed to, I'm finna go ahead and lay it down, whatever I needed to do. I ain't never ate no booty or all that other stuff, but you know, the brother, you know what I'm saying, you know, hey, you know, go downtown, I ain't gotta say it. I did both of that. So, what happened was, I was in high school, and I was reserved in high school. Everybody knew me because I had a big old gigantic afro. I had the biggest afro, you know, the old school afro. And my afro, people, they would take their hand, they would put their hand in it, and they would take it out, and my afro would literally like a memory pillow. And so people knew me for my afro pretty much. And I was sitting at lunch one day, and then you had the popular girls. Y'all know how it goes, everything. All the girls that everybody want. And they was talking. They was bad mouthing some dudes. I knew the dudes. They was jocks, I think, if I remember correctly. They was, you know what I'm saying, football, basketball stars or whatever. And they was, yeah, girl, you slept with him, and he wasn't this, and blah, and he came fast, and they was bad. They was going in, and they were just telling stories. I'm just sitting there listening like, dang. And from that moment, this how powerful words are. From that moment, because of their conversation back in high school, I said to myself, that ain't gonna never be me. That ain't gonna be me. So then I end up prodding myself in being a sexual pleaser, going above and beyond. So then when I did that, and then the women start hearing about me, the girls in high school start hearing like, hey, you know, hey, I had sex with Kelson, and good, you know what I'm saying, good Lord. Like, where he learn all that from? And at the time, you know, I was talking to older women, cougars and stuff like that. I was up on game when it came to sex. Because I said, that's not gonna be me. They ain't gonna be bad. They ain't gonna be bad mouthing me. True story. And because of that I just kept on, you know what I'm saying, becoming better and better at sex. And I literally became you can say a gigolo. Where, hey, where you at? What you doing? Setting up appointments and stuff like that. You know, I'm like, dang, I gotta go work out. I gotta, you know what I'm saying, eat this, eat that. I gotta make sure I got enough strength. You know what I'm saying? Then it became witchcraft. It became, and this is why I tell you about witchcraft and everything. All that was based off of somebody's words. But then I started to masturbate as you know, it's still witchcraft at the way, but a deeper form of witchcraft. Because I'm like, I need to masturbate, and if I know my body. I'm like, okay, I need to masturbate 30 minutes or whatever before I go over there, because I knew my body. I can time it right. Then when I go in there, I can lay it down. Then I ain't got to worry about, you know what I'm saying, a possibility of me, you know what I'm saying, climaxing early. You see what I'm saying? So then I would do that, go in there, lay it down. They like, you know what I'm saying, oh my God, like, you know, blase. True story. True story. I will never forget that. Never forget that. Yeah. Yeah. So we go on, and it says, secondary sexual characteristics are believed to be the product of sexual selection for traits which display fitness, giving an organism an advantage over its rival in courtship and in aggressive interactions. And you wonder why they want to demasculate the black man, who naturally has a higher level of testosterone in comparison to anybody else. You don't believe me? Go look it up. We've already covered it in many sermons. I think it was on the testosterone sermon that we did. You wonder why? Because this is dealing with stuff on a scientific level that you can't see. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about pretty much, you're talking about the spiritual, the unseen. They know this stuff. Secondary sex characteristics include, for example, the manes of male lions. And who is the king of the jungle? the bright facial and rump coloration of male mandrills, and horns in many goats and antelopes. You should be able to correlate that with the scriptures. These characteristics are believed to be produced by a positive feedback loop known as the Fisherian runaway produced by the secondary characteristic in one sex and the desire for that characteristic in the other sex. Meaning pretty much that you're going to produce from within you what the other sex desires, so you can mate with that and you can have an advantage in courtship for survival in life, and you know what I'm saying, and having a mate. And we say being at the top of the food chain. So this beard, they fear the beard, which is interesting because you have James Harden, fear the beard. Where does the beard come from? The testosterone. The testosterone ties in with the DHT. The DHT and the testosterone tie in with the melanin. The melanin is rooted in we know what, right? Chemistry, CHEM, is what? KHEM, which is the study of melanin. Red hair, this is how they trick you right here. Well, red isn't brown, you know, it's not the same thing. It's a form of it. Red hair varies in hue from a deep burgundy or bright copper. What color is copper? Copper, bronze, you know. Or auburn. What color is auburn? I ain't talking about the cartoon stuff. I'm talking about real life auburn, natural stuff. To burnt orange. What color is burnt orange? Burnt orange kind of resembles bright copper or bronze or brass or stuff like that, right? Interesting. The Berber populations of Morocco and northern Algeria have occasional redheads. Red hair frequency is especially significant among the Rifians from Morocco and Kabyles from Algeria, respectively. Why is that important? The Queen of Morocco, Lala Salma, wife of King Mohammed VI, has red hair. Why is that important? Because of who Muhammad traces his lineage back to. Muhammad traces his lineage back to Ishmael. Ishmael traces his lineage back to Abraham. Isaac had 2 children. Interesting. And from Abraham came Isaac. From Isaac came Esau and Jacob. Esau and Ishmael, they mingled their seed. And it says here that the King Muhammad's wife, she had red hair. Interesting. And also, when you go back historically, now I've addressed this in other sermons. They tell you about the a lot of the Ishmaelites. They were black. They were very dark. And guess what color eyes they had? They had blue eyes. Historical records. But let's continue on to get some more evidence. Red hair is the rarest natural hair color in humans. The non-tanning skin associated with red hair may have been advantageous in far northern climates where sunlight is scarce. You're dealing with DNA, right? Studies by Bodmer and Cavalli in 1976 hypothesized that lighter skin pigmentation prevents rickets in colder climates, by encouraging high levels of vitamin D production, and also allows the individual to retain heat better than someone with darker skin. Meaning that the DNA adjusted to the climate that they were in. Because if they were in that colder climate with their darker skin, then they would not absorb the sunlight that they needed because of the darker skin. And so because you had a person with lighter skin and lighter skin, they come together, they most likely they bear what? Light-skinned children. And then they go light skin, light. If two dark-skinned people come together, then most likely they're going to have a dark-skinned child. If that dark-skinned child goes and marries a person darker than them, then most likely how that child gonna come out? I'm not dark. My wife is light. So guess what? My children are light right now. Now they may get darker because I wasn't as dark. I was light. And then I bronzed out. And that's even more proof for that right there. Because in the winter, what happens with black folks? We get lighter. Why? Because you're not absorbing that much sun. You're not outside as much. In the summer, when the sun is out more, what happens? We get darker. So again, they said that the light skin pigmentation prevented rickets in colder climates by encouraging high levels of vitamin D production, and also allows the individual to retain heat better than someone with darker skin, which it makes sense. It prevented rickets because the vitamin D production was up because they had a lighter skin, which allowed them to absorb more vitamin D, which produced more in also, synthesize and whatnot in the body, which prevented the rickets in the colder climates. Harding concluded that red hair is not the result of positive selection, but of a lack of negative selection, which is interesting. In Africa, for example, red hair is selected against because high levels of sun harm pale skin. However, in Northern Europe, this does not happen, so redheads can become more common through genetic drift. Europe is pretty colder than Africa, which means you have a environment where redheads, we know what we define red, we're going to define it some more, can more so thrive because of the environment. So environmental factors does affect the DNA to a certain standpoint, but the DNA is going to do its thing. The DNA is going to do its thing, not the other way around. The DNA is greater than the environment. When it's cold, your flesh lightens up. Even black people I know, I don't lighten up. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, man. Why? So you can absorb more. So you can absorb more vitamin D3 from the sun, because you still need to get in the sun even when it's cold. So, like, come on, y'all. Sometimes red hair darkens as people get older. Sometimes red hair darkens as people get older, becoming a more brownish color and losing some of its vividness. So it's not as vivid. It's more brown. It's not, that bright, lustrous look as it was. This leads some to associate red hair with youthfulness, a quality that is generally considered desirable. In several, this is dealing with the psychology and everything, the psychology of people and how people associate certain things with certain things. Just like I showed you before, the color that they did a study, and Americans and Europeans, I should say modern day Americans and modern day Europeans, the color that they associated the most with ugliness was brown. And they associated not ugliness, but they associated I'll get my words mixed up. They associated brown with ugliness, with feces, and with poverty. You're dealing with that psychology of people. That's why they make certain cars in certain colors, because they know what people want. They're catering to the psychology of people, because certain people will not buy certain color cars. It's not just, I don't want a black car because a black car gets scratched up and all this other stuff, blase, blase. Well, I don't want a white car because a white car stays dirty all the time, blase, blase. There's a deeper psychology to that. Yeah, sometimes I don't want a black car because I know a black car gets scratched up and you can see every scratch on it. But the psychology deals with, if you look at black people, I don't want to be around black people because the psychology is like, I see all their imperfections. I see who they really are on the spirit. On the spiritual level, I don't want to deal with that. How deep y'all want to go? In several countries such as India, Iran, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, henna and saffron are used on hair to give it a bright red appearance. It's interesting because of the areas it mentions. Ishmaelite and Edomite areas. So let's take a trip back in history. Queen Elizabeth I of England. Queen Elizabeth I of England was a redhead, and during the Elizabethan era in England, red hair was fashionable for women. The red hair was a fashion statement. Now, here are some actual historical quotes about Queen Elizabeth. And we have addressed this before, but I want to make sure I address it again. These are literal eyewitness accounts that people gave of the description of Queen Elizabeth I, who allegedly the current Queen Elizabeth II claimed that she came from. This is the Venetian ambassador Giovanni Micheli, 1557. Her face is comely rather than handsome, but she is tall and well formed, with good skin, though swarthy. She has fine eyes. Swarthy. So, didn't we discuss that before? Yeah, I did a 10-hour sermon breaking all this down. So Queen Elizabeth I, royalty, black monarchy. She was a black woman. She was a tawny woman with that red hair. Because you think red hair today ain't the same how it was defined. Sir James Melville, in his memoirs describing the young queen's hair as more reddish than yellow and curled in appearance naturally. So she was swarthy, black. She's a black woman with red hair. I wonder why. Maybe she has some Esau in her. Oh, that would be true because of who Esau came from. Even Jacob had Esau, and they were twins. So you talking about, oh brother, you hair, you must be Esau. I got Esau all up in me. I got Jacob DNA all up in me. That's where I come from. Who they come from? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Francesco Gradenigo in 1597 said that she was very strongly built and ruddy in complexion. Very strongly built and ruddy in complexion. So according to him, hey, she was strong. She had a strong frame. Not meaning. I don't think he's saying that she was like built, but she wasn't like a frail woman. She wasn't a frail woman. But he said that she was very strongly built and ruddy in complexion. That's contrary to the images we see. That's contrary to what they tell us. Because when you go look at the images of Queen Elizabeth I, you see these, images of a white woman with red hair. So why did they do that? Well, because they're not telling you the whole truth. There was a reason why her skin looked like that. Well, let's go look at or read about Paul Hintzner, who was a German visitor to Greenwich Palace in 1598, and what he had to say. Her face oblong, fair but wrinkled, her eyes small yet black and pleasant, her nose a little hooked, her lips narrow and her teeth black. Her teeth were black because of all the sugar and stuff they were eating. Her hair was of an auburn color, but false, because she dyed it, trying to get it back to how it used to be when she was younger, because Queen Elizabeth I was very, very, very vain. Upon her head, she had a small crown. Her bosom was uncovered, as all the English ladies have it till they marry. Her hands were slender. I don't know if that means that she had a bosom uncovered, cleavage, and that's where people get that from. As a way of, come divide with me, because, two become one, they divide. You got one and two, but there was originally one. I'm just saying. Her hands were slender, her fingers rather long, and her stature neither tall nor low. Her air was stately, and her manner of speaking mild and obliging. So it says in her 65th year, it said that she wore the false hair. It was red, that auburn color. Then it goes on and says, it is known, however, that she contracted smallpox in 1562, which left her face scarred. She took to wearing white lead makeup to cover the scars. So her skin wasn't originally white because she was swarthy, she was ruddy. But she wore the makeup because her skin was so blotchy. And God was affecting her with that because of her vanity. So when you see these images of Queen Elizabeth I, and you see she had this very, very pale white skin, they're not telling you because she had on white lead makeup, which made the problem even worse, made her skin even worse. In later life, she suffered the loss of her hair and her teeth because she was very vain. In the last few years of her life, she refused to have a mirror in any of her rooms. She was a very, very, very vain woman because she lost her beauty. But they're not going to tell you all these things. So, Elizabeth I, she was born September 7th, 1533, and she died March 24th, 1603. And she was Queen of England and Ireland from November 17th, 1558 until her death in 1603. Now, why is that important? Well, we have to go to the famous Benjamin Franklin. So we know for a fact that Queen Elizabeth was black with red auburn type of hair. The perfect example of that, and I gave you that example, when I did that 10-hour sermon is Khalees. It's Khalees. Go look at the old images of Khalees. Khalees is a perfect example that I could find of what Queen Elizabeth would have somewhat looked like in regards to skin complexion and hair. So again, this is way back in 1533. She died in 1603, right? So did all of a sudden she just stop being black just because she put on white makeup? Well, what about after that? As I told you before, the real reason for the War of Independence was because the whites of that time period, and I ain't saying it was just white people, but the whites of that time period, they got tired of being ruled by black monarchy. And it was the final fall of the black monarchy system, and then all the people coming into captivity. So let's go read Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, written in 1751. I think it was written, it was written in 1751. Then I think it was published, republished publicly a few years after that, if I remember correctly. So we're going to see what Benjamin Franklin had to say. This is after Queen Elizabeth is dead and gone, right? Because she died in 1603, and this is written in 1751. And since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should the Palatine boards be suffered to swarm into our settlements, and by herding together establish their language and manner to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, modern-day English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us? Well, that doesn't make sense, right? Well, it makes perfect sense when you understand who the Germans of his time period were. And they were not what we call the modern day Germans. Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. Benjamin Franklin just told you the Germans of his time period were black. Benjamin Franklin just told you the Germans of his day were black. Great Britain, all these places are considered part of Europe. Germany. And he specifically mentions complexion, but then he adds, he said, you know what, since we're on this topic, let's go there. Which leads me to add one remark. He's saying, let me make sure I add this. I want to make sure I tell you this. That the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. So America, during its time period, even before, except the newcomers, they were the newcomers. People been traveling to America, even during the time period before Benjamin Franklin came over to America. You had Europeans, black Europeans coming to the United States and everything. Which is why when you look at history, you see black people over here and they got slaves and stuff like that. So again, he says, America exclusive of the newcomers. Wholly so. So America is what? He said during the time period, America was what? Black or tawny. He said wholly so, except a small group of us. Wholly so. And in Europe where the black monarchy was ruling, who they rebelled against. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion. I need to go break down what swarthy means again. I don't think I need to do that. As are the Germans also, the Saxons only excepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. So during Benjamin Franklin's time period, Benjamin Franklin, you don't believe me, believe him. Benjamin Franklin said that, hey, most of the people in the world are black. So that would mean that during the time period of Queen Elizabeth, that they were black too. Because these are the people that Benjamin Franklin, they rebelled against. So unless you can find evidence that between 1603 and 1751, something happened that made majority of these people white, then you don't have a leg to stand on. Queen Elizabeth was black. So who are the people that are sitting on the throne now? Acting like they can't stand black people. Is the baby gonna come out black? Then he goes on, he says, I could wish their numbers were increased. I wish that the number of white people on the face of the earth were increased. And while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet, we're cleaning our planet of these roaches. Hey, look at this. By clearing America of woods, we're gonna make them go. And so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes. Now people just gloss over this, but this is important. And so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus. So Benjamin Franklin felt like he came from somewhere else. Who is the god of Mars? Why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies? So they saw the black and the tawny people as one people. Like, hey, they all same people to us. Of increasing the lovely white in red. Now he considered himself red, but he's not talking about red in the sense of how we have been defining red, obviously. But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country. So we know he's specifically talking about skin color, just in case you don't get it. For such kind of partiality is natural to mankind, which is a true statement. Most people are partial to their own people and want the best for their people. There's nothing wrong with that. So there you have it. Now, we want to start to break down the word red that was used in the context of the scriptures when it described Esau, so we can get an even better understanding. So when we look that word up, it means blood, likeness. And it's a pictograph. Like you can learn a lot from pictographs. Pictographs were actually you could say the original way of communicating things, which is pictures, which is why you think about it, why movies and moving images are so powerful. You ever wonder why they're so powerful? There's nothing new under the sun. The original languages that we had wasn't words in the sense of how we write today. It was pictures. Which is why images and movies and videos, they're so powerful in these last days, because that's how it was in the beginning. Just some deeper wisdom for you. So the pictograph that's included in the red is you have a door, which is obviously the D, and is representing the idea of moving back and forth. So the RE, in connection with the D, it moves back and forth. It moves back and forth. And then you have the M in the pictograph. It's a picture of water and can represent any liquid, especially blood. Combine these pictures mean the moving back and forth of water or the flowing of blood. Now, that may not make sense. Like, what is that got to do with Esau being red? You know, he's red because, you know, the blood showed through his skin, you know, like the white man. But white people don't walk around like that all the time. when you understand what happens um, when blood reaches a place, it makes things brighten up, it makes things swell. So, in regards to Esau, um, and blood and testosterone, his blood at an early age before he even came out, when he came out, it was like flowing like that of a grown man, to keep it plain and whatnot. Which is why they looked at him like the way he did, because he was hairy. Because typically that doesn't happen until you are older, when you get that hair, because that you're going through puberty, your testosterone levels have raised. We know what happens when you go into testosterone. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm talking about. Your thing, stuff like that. Um, you're more full of life. You want to do more in these different things, whatnot. Cause you get that more, the flowing of blood. You're going through puberty. The sexual characteristics are kicking in. So, similarly, the grape plant takes water from the ground and moves it to the fruit, where the water becomes the blood of the grape. So, just give you some more examples. When we also look at the word red, it literally means ruddy. And it comes from reddish. It also doesn't come from, but it can be reddish, which is of the hair or the complexion. So, are you going to say that Esau was so-called white man with the red hair and everything, like people try to portray, or does the evidence not support that? The evidence doesn't support that. The evidence supports that he was ruddy. He was a twin to his brother, and he happened to be hairy in comparison to his brother, and he came out more manly. More manly. It also comes from the ground, and the reason that they connected it with the ground is because it comes from its red color, the ground's red color. Some of the terms they gave was land, earth, ground, and country. These are all connected with red or ruddy and reddish. Now, I want to jump over to the scriptures just to make this connection. And it says, and he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. The same word that's used here, ruddy, is the same word that's used in regards to red in describing Esau. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. So why across Africa from Kenya to South Africa is the soil red? Because remember, one of the connections they made for us was the ground. And the reason they made the connection with the ground was because of its red color, which they included land, earth, ground, and country. So why across Africa from Kenya to South Africa is the soil red? Let's make that connection. The ground is called laterite and is a clay which has been enriched with iron and aluminum that has been developed over long periods of time by the heavy rainfalls and the intense heat. Sometimes the material is rock hard, but when scuffed by vehicle wheels, it becomes a choking red dust. And some of you know about the dust that comes from Africa. It comes all the way over here. It's a cycle that goes on. The iron is the origin of the redness, i.e. a rusty color. So we have to define iron. I found this very, very interesting. When you define iron, you go back and you break it all the way down to its root, to its seed. It literally means powerful, holy, strong. But watch this. Holy metal or strong metal. The people of Israel was supposed to be a strong people, a holy metal, a holy people, because we know our flesh is made up of the elements. So we know we can make the connection with the scriptures, right? But let's do it. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. Where does dust come from? We know the dust came from Africa, so it was this red dust, which makes sense why he was ruddy. He was known as being ruddy. We know this dust came from Africa. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Now I mentioned something about this laterite, this deep red clay, being formed from heavy rainfall, water, and heat. When a potter is molding something, you have the water and you have the heat to form it into what you want it to stay in. Are you getting what's going on? Are you getting what's being said? So we want to look at the word dust. We look at the word dust, it means clay, powder, and it also means to cast. So God casted man, meaning, like a mold. He took that dust and then he made it into the clay and everything, and then he cast us with his heat and formed us, literally. Or, formed Adam, and then we all came from him. And the same thing with what we call procreation. When they are doing in vitro fertilization, all this other stuff, you know what they do? They shock it. When they put that sperm in, they shock it with heat, electricity, with power. But it's in a liquid. All they're doing is mimicking what God did in their own way. So, are there any more connections we can make with black people in regards to everything we just said? To proving even more that Esau is not the modern day what we call white man. So we want to look at iron deficiency, anemia, signs and symptoms. Some of you already know this, but we got to make that connection. What are some of these signs of iron deficiency, anemia? Extreme fatigue, weakness. What was iron defined as? Powerful, strong, holy. We're deficient. Studies have found that anemia is 3 times more common in African Americans than in whites. Matter of fact, sickle cell anemia, which is known as the black disease, even though white people can get it, is known as the black disease because black people get it so much. I wonder why. Studies have found that anemia is 3 times more common in African Americans than in whites, and actually, it's even higher amongst African American women. African American women actually have a higher anemia deficiency, iron deficiency anemia disorder than African American males. I wonder why. I wonder if this has anything to do with the scriptures. I wonder if it has anything to do with the rebellion of the black woman against the black man and God himself. While iron deficiency is a leading cause for anemia, the reduced count of red blood cells can arise from other causes such as chronic diseases, which are a growing concern for public health. Give me some AC. Esau also means hairy. Esau also means hairy. That brother right there, he hairy. That's Esau. You're right. I got Esau bloodline in me. And who Esau came from? Appreciate it. I got Jacob bloodline in me. Who Jacob came from? Appreciate it. I know I got both of them. That's my family. Which is why it's, partly why I'm able to understand this stuff so easily. Because a lot of the wisdom is written within the DNA. In the same way, they're trying to take the DNA and they're trying to store information in DNA because it's just ridiculous how much information, data you can hold in one drop of DNA. So if you can store that stuff in the DNA, then in a person, meaning they create somebody, right? And they're able to store all the knowledge of the world within a little drop of DNA, and then they create a program or whatever for that person to access it. You literally have a God on earth that they have made. So, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. So he had hairy hands, one didn't, and one did, because he came out hairy. He said, hey, this is sound like Jacob's voice, but it's Esau's hand. Like, what's going on here? So go to our next scripture, and it says, and they said unto him, there came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, go, turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, thus said the Lord, is it not because there is not a God in Israel, that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from that bed which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, what manner of man was he which came up to meet you, and told you these words? And they answered him, he was an hairy man. Who was this hairy man? And girth with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, it is Elijah the Tishbite. Elijah was a hairy man. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50. And he went up to him, and behold, he sat on the top of an hill. And he spake unto him, thou man of God, the king hath said, come down. It would make sense that Elijah could possibly, we know he was hairy, but I'm just saying, it would make sense that there was a possibility for Elijah to be hairy, considering the lineage he came from. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob saw the pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint after he didn't find anything to eat. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, because the red pottage, and also because Edom means red. Have you went and looked up what red lentils look like? Red lentil soup. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. That's why Esau got in trouble, because he despised his birthright. So if you're saying that Esau is a white man, then you're saying that the white man had the original birthright. I don't see scriptures that support that. I don't see scriptures that support that. And when Esau was despising his birthright, he was literally despising Christ, because they knew the gospel. So a person may try to make that argument, well, Esau is a white man because he despised his birthright. He despised Christ, just like the white man despises, the black Christ today and the black Israelites. You know, obviously we know that Israelites are black, but you get my point, hopefully. I'm just saying, I know how people think. So Esau, even let's go with Esau being white. Esau married his first two wives against his parents' wishes. According to historical accounts, these women spent all their days in adultery and idolatry. Adah adorned herself with jewelry for harlotry, from which her name Adah is derived, with the meaning of the wearing of jewelry, for purpose of harlotry. Adah's other name was Basemath. So you may know her as Basemath, but historical accounts she was also known as Adah because of the harlotry she was doing with the jewelry and stuff like that. So she was wearing the jewelry to draw people in so she could commit these whoredoms. And also his other wife too. This name also attests to her deeds, for she will perfume herself for harlotry. Esau's second wife, Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, was an illegitimate child resulting from an adulterous union. Judith was also named Helobama, a name she was given because she built places for idolatry. She dwelled in Esau's tent, but performed her needs elsewhere. That is, she engaged in extramarital relations. These are the women that he married, and he knew he wasn't supposed to marry these women because of those different things. They were going to lead him astray. So they were Hittite women. So if Esau is the white man, so-called white man, Esau married black women because these were Hittite women who descend from Ham's lineage through Canaan. So if Esau is white, and was white back then, he married black women, that means that the children would have been what we call mixed. They would have been mixed. Very, very interesting. So I'm just giving you some things to think about. But we're looking at all the evidence. We go to our next point. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan-aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, "Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan," and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padan-aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac, his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael. So he was trying to get back in his father's good grace. So at first he went and got these women because, he was upset and whatnot. He was getting back at his folks. And then he was like, oh, Jacob did that. He told Jacob to do that. I'm going to go do it too, to try to get back in my father's good grace. Then went Esau unto who? Ishmael. Oh, who did Ishmael come from? Now you're starting to understand. And took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. So another example. If Esau was white, he married black women. So what are y'all talking about? Now you can make other arguments, but even with the arguments you're going to try to make in connection with the rest of the stuff that you have said, you like a dead fish in the water. Then we go here to Deuteronomy, and it says, "Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite." Y'all said we ain't allowed to hate. But God said that you shall not abhor an Edomite. Why? For he is thy brother. Because abhorring is greater than hatred. Hatred is a form of abhorring. But he says specifically here that you cannot abhor Edomite. For he is thy brother. meaning you can't hate him or abhor him without a cause. For he is what? Thy brother. But y'all say the white man ain't your brother. You say the white people can't be saved. So you're telling me that if the white people are the Edomites, that will make them our brothers and sisters, and you're saying that they can't be saved. But the Bible specifically calls them our brothers. Y'all not making no sense. I want to say that one more time. If the white man is, if the Edomites are the white people, the scriptures say that they are our brothers and sisters, but y'all say that they cannot be saved. They can't be saved. Everybody else can be saved, but they can't be saved because they're white, because they're Edomites. So the Egyptians can be saved, but our brothers, the Edomites, they can't be saved. Even though the Egyptians did just as bad stuff as the Edomites, and they still do it today. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Brother, stranger. Edomite, brother. Egyptian was considered a stranger. So let's tie it all together, because I told y'all what you have coming up very, very soon is the rise of black monarchy again. And you have a lot of Hebrews posing as Edomites. A lot of Hebrews posing as Edomites, causing confusion amongst the people. You have a lot of Hebrews that are in bed with the, I should say, specific Edomite, because it's like all the same family, but you got specific lineages and stuff like that. I know that. Just like, what I'm saying, you're a Hebrew, I'm a Hebrew, whatnot. But you got your lineage and I got my lineage or whatever, But we still trace back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. From Isaac came Esau, and from Jacob came Israel. I know all that. But it's still technically one family right there. So, like I was just saying, in this in this reign during the time of Jacob's trouble, it's going to be predominantly black rulership. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. He specifically separates Edom from what he's calling the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. We've proven that Edom is black. Even the ancient Edomites, go look at the pictures, go do some deep studies, go read some old books. They would tell you that the Edomites were black. So you got to prove how they became white. If you're going to say the white man is Edom. Now, I will say, are there white people that probably could be considered Edomites? Yes, but overall, Edom is not what we describe today as the white man. It's not. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Sound familiar? The devil said the same thing. He's walking in the footsteps of the devil. Who came first? This is gonna throw some of y'all. You be like, well, what do you mean who came first? Christ came first, obviously. In the pre-Adamic earth age, who was there first ruling? Lucifer. and then Christ is going to come. And Lucifer was supposed to hand it over to Christ and give him all the glory, but he didn't do that. He was always supposed to be, it doesn't matter if he came first, second, third, whatever. Christ is always first. He's the first and the last. Ooh. So, the same thing with Jacob. Doesn't matter if he came out first or second. The story played out the way it's supposed to be playing out. So, because it was prophecy being fulfilled. So what Esau is doing is really no different than what the devil does, which is why he says, "Who shall bring me down to the ground?" It says the same thing in the book of Isaiah. You know, I'm gonna be like God. Who gonna stop me? Pretty much. Shout not. Oh my bad. Okay. Going to our next set. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Same language is used in regards to the devil in the book of Isaiah. Would not they have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy, which is interesting because you read Psalms 83. It talks about all nations are confederate against Israel. All men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Why? For thy violence against thy stranger. No, it says for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Meaning that I'm not dealing with your nation as a whole. Doesn't mean that a person that's an Edomite can't be saved. Because if y'all say that Edomite is a white man, then hey, if Edom is black, then now he can be saved, huh? I can show you scripture where God said he's going to cut Jacob off forever. It's talking about those who continue in the wickedness. Remember, they tried to question Christ and said, what has this man done to deserve this? What sins have his father and mother committed? And what was Christ's response? Unless you all likewise repent, you will perish. His name is going to be cut off. Because this is prophetic, because it's going to be in the future. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers, he specifically differentiates Edom from the strangers that came in 70 AD. And even other times too. In the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. So that's your brother, but you acted as if you were a stranger. Who came in 70 AD? Y'all say it was white people. So the Edomite white people came in and joined forces with the other white people to destroy the black people during 70 AD. Now, you can make that argument. White people can team up with white people, and black people can team up with black people. But in the context of what we're speaking about and everything we have discussed, doesn't make any sense. thy brother Jacob. They were twins. They were both black. Esau was acting in, Edomites were acting in unrighteousness with what they were doing. They should have been helping their brother or just staying out of it, not helping to speed up our demise so they can get some gain from it or get some pleasure from it. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. So that's what happened. Our people became a stranger because we went to a strange land, just like what happened in Egypt. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. So like nobody's escaping. If there was an escape route, they knew where the escape routes were because that was their family. That was their brothers. So they was, right there with each other. But some of them was. So they're like, hey, I know where they're going to try to get out of. Let's block it off so they can't escape. Can you imagine that? You're looking and saying, dang, that's our own people. Our own people. Oh, you can't imagine because the same thing goes on today. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. Then he continues on, and this is how you know the context of when this is, when it's going to come to a head. Because it happened with Nebuchadnezzar, they surrounded the area. It happened in 70 AD, and it's going to happen again. 3 times, 3 witnesses, where they're going to surround Jerusalem, and that's why God says, Christ is God manifest in the flesh. In the book of Matthew, that when you see the abomination of desolation, get out of there. Get out of there, because now they finna come in, they finna ransack it, they finna surround it, and if you don't get out while you can, you're not gonna escape. So this is still reading what we're reading. This is a continuation of this. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So he said that during the day of the Lord, which is happening during the time of Jacob's trouble, he's going to pour his wrath not only upon the wicked Israelites, but also upon the Edomites. And he ain't talking about the white man. The wicked white people, they're going to get their reward, but this is what we're going to deal with. And we're going to see this as we read even more. So now we're going to jump over to Jeremiah chapter 49. And it tells us concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. If great gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children. I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. For thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, said the Lord, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. Now, this is end time stuff. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like something out of the book of Revelation. I've heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, and rise up to battle. Gather ye together and come against her. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord. No man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong. He's telling you where all this is going down at. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? Or who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, that he hath taken against Edom and his purposes, that he has purpose against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall. At the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. Let's go to our next set of scriptures to get another witness. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down. Sounds familiar. Revelation chapter 6, anybody? 6 seal. As a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. I wonder, have we been reading our Bible, reading our scriptures? For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. So we got the context right. Same thing it says in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, 6 seal, right? For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So not only are coming upon the Edomites, but his people too. It's going to come upon all my family, and then everybody else. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra. What time period is he talking about? The time of Jacob's trouble. And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls. And their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Then we just read that. It shall not be quenched night nor day. Hell. He said the wicked shall literally be turned into hell. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. If you know your scripture, then you come on now. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. Now, if you know your scriptures, then you should see the connection. But just in case you don't know, let's go to Revelation chapter 18. And it talks about mystery Babylon. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The very thing we just read. And we have went in detail on this before. So let's get some more witnesses. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments? Coming from where? From Edom, with dyed garments from Basra. That this is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. So you know how Christ is coming back with the white raiment? He's going to stain it with his enemy's blood. Specifically, the blood of the Edomites. And they ain't so-called white. They're primarily black. I ain't saying there ain't no white Edomites. But that's for a whole nother study right there. But the Edomites are not primarily white. Then it goes on and it tells us, so we get another witness, for the day of for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Woe to them that despise iniquity, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil. God devises evil? From which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily. For this time is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away he hath divided our fields. Therefore thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord. Prophesy ye not, say they to them that prophesy. They shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame. O thou that art named the house of Jacob, is the spirit of the Lord straitened? Are these his doings? Do not my word do good to him that walketh uprightly? That's why people don't want to hear the word. Even of late my people is risen up as an enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by securely as men averse from war. The women of my people have ye cast out from their pleasant houses. From their children have ye taken away my glory forever. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. If a man walking in the spirit in falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. Watch this. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the flock in the midst of their fold. Because we're going to be scattered in the midst of the Edomites. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. Need to prove it more? The breaker is come up before them. They are broken up, and have passed through the gate, and are gone out by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Lord on the head of them. That was Micah chapter 2, for some of you who want to read it. Let's get another witness. We go to Joel chapter 2. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is not at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. Same thing we just read earlier, same thing that's mentioned in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, with the sixth seal. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, they have not been ever alike, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. The people he's talking about is his army that comes forth from heaven. If we survive before Christ comes, then we know the dead in Christ are risen first, and then we are caught up to be with them, and then we all gather together. We go to heaven for a little bit to gather ourselves and learn what we need to learn, and then when the time comes, we come back down with Christ and wage all out war physically. So that was Joel chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. But I want to jump down. I want to pick up in verse 28. Because during this time period, this is what he says, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. This is specifically when that scripture is fulfilled. And also upon the servants, upon the handmaids, in those days will I pour out my spirit, because when he's ruling and reigning, he's going to be sitting there, so he's going to pour his spirit upon everybody. But before that happens, you have all this destruction, which is why he says in verse 30, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. So fulfillment of that is when he's ruling and reigning, but what leads up to that is when he comes back and they're like, oh my God, this is Christ. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is me, and blase, blase. Then you go in verse 31, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come, which is the same thing we just read, which is the same thing that's mentioned again in the book of Revelation chapter 6. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered, for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. So I wanted to read all that because Joel chapter 2 is a continuation of Joel chapter 3. So when you read Joel chapter 2, you can literally read it straight through and then literally flow right into Joel 3 with no hiccups. So then it says, for behold, in those days, the days he was just talking about, and in that time when I shall bring again that captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, because we're going to go into captivity again. Our people are going to go into captivity again. But people tell you that this is the last captivity. Ooh, I love what I do, because I expose these people for the lies that they are. These people be lying to you. They told you that this is the last captivity. Now, they're halfway right, but they're not. They can't take credit for it. This is the last captivity for those who are in Christ, whether Jew or Gentile. But being specific, this is the last captivity for Jews who are in Christ, who are truly born again. But this is not the last captivity for Israel as a whole. There's one more captivity that Israel is going to go into, and we just proved it once again. For behold, in those days What days? He already told you what days. Already gave you the scriptures. And in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, how he bringing our people out of captivity again? If there's not another captivity, and just in case you don't believe that this is captivity, we're gonna keep on reading. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley of decision, where he steps a foot on the mountain and it splits and everything, right? And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, what? Whom they have scattered among the nations during that time period, and parted my land. These niggas, because that's what they is, niggas been lying to you. And y'all uplifting them and upholding them like they're the true men of Israel. They're leading the people. They leading you astray. They leading you into another captivity. They leading you to worship the Antichrist. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. As he said, in the last day they're going to be eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. We're not a care in the world. Christ came, we ain't got nothing to worry about. The Antichrist is going to be sitting there like he Christ and telling y'all that the true Christ is the dang devil. Oh, that's the devil right there coming down to come destroy what we got. Yea, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temple my goodly pleasant thing. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head. Because prophecy happens at least 3 times. Prophecy happens at least 3 times. And I will sell your sons and your daughters. So that's why you can't speak against slavery. You can't speak against captivity. You can't sit here and say that God is against captivity when God's sitting there saying that he's going to sell their people into captivity. They're going to be our slaves. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. So y'all be getting yourself in trouble. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. So he said, so when y'all get mad at these brothers in the street corners talking about that the white people going into captivity, you can't get mad. The Bible says to proclaim it. Among the who? The Gentiles. Because we're supposed to know who the Edomites are. And supposed to be warning the Gentile, warning the white people of the flesh. Like, hey, you don't want the same judgment as the Edomites. You don't want the same judgment as some of our own people. You don't want to do what our own family has done. There's another way. But if you want to go that way, we got something for you too. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. At this point, it's prepare war, because we know what time period that we are at in history. The Gentiles are doing the same thing. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come down, because I'm going to slaughter them all. I'm going to slaughter them all. So, there you have it. We get the harshest judgment as an example. And then people go do the same thing that we did, and then they end up getting judged the same way. So, y'all gonna continue believing that you saw the white man. I haven't even gotten to the historical accounts yet. That's just scripture. That's just scripture and science. Dang. Did I lose some testosterone points? But yeah, I'm out. Been preaching for a while. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you. Remember, I got my number in the description box if you want to hit me up. If you want to hit me up. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name as always. Stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared. I think we found Esau.